Good morning. Good morning. How's everybody doing? I'm trying out my new phone now with my microphone. I'm gonna see how the audio goes. Please forgive me if I don't do this properly. I'm not gonna edit this because I'm just gonna go straight through. Um, just recently, I want to talk about something. Just recently, I posted something on my social media. It was an indigenous woman. She was dancing, and above her head there were the captions, "No one is illegal in stolen land." And if you're living here in the United States, you will know that we're having issues with illegal immigration. I'm not saying that I promote illegal immigration, but I condone, I do not accept the disrespect of immigrants and the mistreatment of immigrants. And I know it's a whole lot of things, but let's just stick to the one topic. This video was created by an indigenous woman. It wasn't by me, it wasn't by some white guy, it wasn't by some Latino, it wasn't by some African, it was an indigenous woman from an indigenous tribe. Because she's trying to say that, hey, you guys are my land, that you stole from me. Right? And therefore, you cannot say who is illegal, who is not illegal, right? So one of the first reactions that I get from people, from friends, even from commenters, even people that I don't know, the first thing they say, yeah, well, the indigenous tribes used to fight amongst each other. How does that make sense? Can somebody explain to me how does that make sense? I don't know. Maybe I'm ignorant. Maybe I don't have enough knowledge. But I don't think that flies by modern standards. For example, that's like China saying, well, the North Americans are mistreating the black people, so we're going to invade it and take over the country and, sleep with your women against their will, like Donald Trump style, and force a foreign language upon you and everything else, and we're going to get to say who comes in, who comes out of the country. Or if you look at the United Kingdom, they have problems themselves. Like certain parts of Ireland, they've actually had terrorist attacks against the British government. So does that mean that Zimbabwe, Libya, Sierra Leone, Nigeria can go and take over Great Britain and say, well, you guys are fighting each other. Here's the thing. I have a friend of mine who is in the Air Force. He was in the Air Force, I should say, many years ago. He's Filipino, and this is back in 2006. And he looks at me and goes, you know what, Al? That's my nickname. You know what, Al? The Europeans are the most tribal people on the planet. And I was confused. It's like, what do you mean? He goes, look at it. You have this small group, this small piece of land with so many different kingdoms, with so many different boundaries, with so many different languages, and they have all these different wars. They've been fighting with each other since the beginning of time, including world wars. They have wars that involve the entire planet and could have destroyed the entire planet in some cases, And when I was thinking about it, you know what? He's right. So, but here's the thing: you never see anybody tell that the white people of Europe do not belong on their own land. Why? Because white people are indigenous to the European continent, right? Just as the people who hear the indigenous people of these tribes in the North American continent or the All Americas, they're indigenous to this land. So I don't understand the concept. Maybe can somebody explain to me that because they used to fight each other, that all of a sudden you as a foreigner can come in, take over the land by conquest, and then say that other people cannot come in. And then when the original inhabitants of this land speak up and say, hey, nobody can be illegal on this land because this is my original land. And then you guys say, well, you should fight each other. And I see people coming up with the strangest concepts. Some people say, hey, they weren't advanced and we brought civilization over. No. The Native Americans are extremely advanced. Maybe some tribes here when you first landed, but you have the great empires like the Aztec and the Mayans and everything else. The Incas, they had like about 25,000 miles of roads built in the mountains. And I believe at that time, if my memory serves me correct, they had the fastest postal service in the world. That was an intricate form of postal service. I mean, like they had like temples and buildings. They had giant buildings that can match up to the pyramids of Egypt. So basically, and a lot of the Europeans that came, they were flabbergasted when they saw these giant monuments. So I don't understand that. Okay, well, because they were backwards and didn't have the same thing. What, gunpowder? Gunpowder comes from the Chinese and everything else. They were not stupid and they were not advanced. And people give so many different reasons. Well, if Europeans leave, they're going to take all the roads with them. Like they can't build roads, Like seriously, can somebody explain to me this? Because they still exist. They're still on this land, and they're telling you cannot have illegal people in this land. And for some of you that don't know, a lot of Native Americans, they have land on the border with, I believe, between Texas and Mexico. And then I'm not sure if California also, but they do have lands between the United States and Mexico. And a lot of these Native Americans, a lot of the indigenous tribes will actually look the other way when they see immigrants coming through. You want to know why? Because when they have been questioned by authorities, by, let's say, by the police or by ICE or whomever, they will say, well, why did you let them through? And you know what they say? These are the same people who are my brothers and sisters, and we see them the same as us. So you have indigenous on American soil who are letting other people through because they see them the same as them. Not because they see them the same as that they're mistreated, because a lot of the people that come from Central America are actually indigenous themselves. I have met many people from Central America, from Guatemala, from Mexico, from Nicaragua, that don't even speak Spanish properly because their first language is their native indigenous tongue. The Mayans were never wiped out. The Aztecs were never wiped out. The people of Mexico is after the name Mexica, was his tribe. So you have Native Americans that actually letting what you call illegal immigrants coming through their land because they have their land on the border. And I just would like to repeat, Ponkewi Victors, who is, I believe she's a congresswoman. She belongs to the nation of the Tohono O'odham nation. She basically told another congressman, and she says, you know, it's funny, when you say the word illegal, I think of you, because he was saying that you should not give these illegals any privileges like free education or something like that. And you know what his words were? No, let's not talk about it. Let's not get into that right now. See, this is the bane of the existence of the North American. They do not want to accept that you have the sin of basically the sin of stealing. No matter what happens, no matter what you say, if you're not indigenous to this land, if you do not have a tribal ID, if you do not have a certificate degree of Indian blood quantum, this is not your land. And you know where I got this from? I got this from a Native American woman, because I had a discussion with a Native American woman, and she told me that when they have their get-togethers, I believe their powwows in North America, or sometimes what they have to call the meeting of the nations, when you have all the indigenous people of North, Central, South America, and even the Antilles and the Caribbean, you have these white people, not saying that white people are bad, but some white people will show up and say, hey, I'm one of you guys because I have my great-great-great-grandmother is an Indian princess of some such and such tribe, right? And the first thing she says, can I see your tribal ID? So there you go. You're not illegal in stolen land. Can somebody please explain this to me? Because I don't understand.